And we're live. Greetings. Hello Facebook, hello YouTube. This is Cat Conversations. And today I'm here with Jamie Catto, who is a friend of mine and has been for a few years, eh?
Yeah, a few years.
Yeah. And I consider him to be a shadow worker. Someone who's passionate about working with shadows and transforming them to gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harvesting them.
Harvesting. That sounds like a bit Grim Reaper-ish.
It is.
Yeah. So, do you want to tell us about... Do you want to go right from the very beginning about what made Jamie Catto Jamie Catto? Where was he born? What was his childhood like?
You have to ask me more direct questions than that.
Okay.
In general. But the childhood thing is interesting, especially recently. I've been exploring more of... so much of all of the work I'm doing is based around all the edits we made in ourselves growing up that sent parts into the shadow. Because the shadow, people think of shadow, they think of all my yucky bits, the dark side.
Yeah.
That's not what shadow is. Shadow is just the stuff that gets hidden in the shadows.
But doesn't it get hidden in the shadows because we feel like about it?
Yeah, but that could be your wonderful flamboyant entertainer that loves to hold the room. You know, that's not just because your greed and your rage and your sort of things that aren't for public consumption. Beautiful qualities for many people, being able to sing or wear bright colours comfortably or dance publicly. That's a beautiful thing. Goes into the shadow if they've been laughed at or shamed or it didn't go down well.
Got you.
Our whole childhood is a crusade of not getting rejected.
Yes.
Anything but be exiled. And connection is all we want. You know, we come out of this beautiful connected space, being part of the mother, maybe being part of something bigger and spiritual, who knows, into being an individual. That disconnect is so traumatic. We spend all of the rest of the time trying to reclaim that connection. And anything that gives us connection in the world, we're like, oh yeah, you know, our band play the brilliant chords of the song we all love, we all roar together, feel that mass unity hit, give Coldplay 200 quid, no problem.
Right.
Or you meet someone and it's like, oh, he gets me, he really gets me. Mary Claire, 18 ways to make him stay. Anything that is about the connection, we were like, oh, that's the elixir of... Even like football is a perfect example. You can stand next to a total stranger in England you wouldn't even have eye contact with in the pub, but it only takes a millionaire to kick a circular bit of leather into a net. Suddenly you're hugging a total stranger, jumping up and down. That weird sport thing has become a placebo for connection, which everyone's desperate for. They just need an excuse, which is quite a bizarre one, man in funny shorts.
Great shorts sometimes.
Great shorts. But sport, again, is one of why there's so much money and everything goes into it, because it's a connector. Yeah. And the opposite of that, exile, disconnect, loneliness, abandonment, is like the kryptonite to being a human. It's like the opposite. It's like horrific. So we are all about, you know, the connection, and we've lost so much connection with ourselves and with each other through editing. You know, when we were little, when we were told off, that was an example of exile and disconnection. Whatever we were doing when we got told off, like, oh, no one must ever see me being like that again or doing that again. Even myself sometimes. Yeah. A few more times that happens, it's just like buried forever. Because we don't want to feel uncomfortable and exiled. And we've made a massive editing process on ourselves, and often really got ourselves down to this tiny shop window version, this brochure of who we are that we think won't trigger people, won't get me rejected, or everything can carry on okay, or people won't think I'm too weird, you know, whatever. And in the name of that never getting rejected, we present a minute part of ourselves. And for me, all the stuff that went in the shadows, which isn't only the things like rage, that you mustn't be angry in public, you know, everyone's been gulping down rage forever, but it's not just basic things like that, it's all kinds of wonderful qualities. There's a huge treasure chest. And because we made that decision to put them in the shadow when we were like 4, 5, 6, whatever years old, we've totally forgotten about it. We lived religiously like those edits are true and who I am. But we were 5, 6 years, that's why I do what I do, because it's so ridiculous how passionately and religiously we lived to the rule book we made when we were 5. And we're grown-ups now, that actually there's a lot more we can allow and share with each other. Yeah. But we've turned it into such phantoms by not ever looking at it. We think it's like, oh, excruciating, mustn't go there, when really it's like... You turn a little bit towards it. Those dragons you put around your map of you, these are dragons, don't go there. They're really just children's chalk drawings of dragons, actually, when you turn toward it. Takes a tiny bit of effort. I'm a very lazy person, so it's perfect work for me. You know, one tiny quarter step towards this stuff. You see it's just a child's chalk drawing, go, whew, and masses of treasure comes back. It's a high yield job.
Sounds amazing, yeah. And it sounds like, because the question started out about your childhood. It sounds like, It sounds like you've recently discovered more gold in facing those dragons and blowing the chalk dust away.
I've been checking out a few different things, trauma release therapies, EMDR. I've been very interested in CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, that I think we're all in.
Right.
From all the humans I've seen, I haven't met one yet that isn't in some form of CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which means that the early, difficult, rejecting, exiling, being treated with disgust, being treated with a certain look that your mum always gave you, whatever, has left everyone in a permanent state of almost like a Vietnam flashback. The slightest thing of someone talking to you in that tone of voice, or that it can totally fuck your day.
Right.
Are we allowed to swear during?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And we are super fragile around so seemingly small things. We're all super highly sensitive. I think everyone is in this state of quite easily going into a flashback. And then we start talking from that regressed child. So whoever we're fighting with or in a conflict with, we're not really being the kind, wise, grounded adult in that situation when we're the least bit triggered.
Yeah.
Suddenly we're really talking with the values of a child, or the values of the sort of tantruminess and the the overreactiveness, and it's not really us, I would say. When I use the word I mean the kind, wise, grounded Jamie who's right here, right now. When people say, I beat myself up so much, I think that's an incorrect use of the word I.
Right.
A part of you that you've been accustomed to have as a little demon character in your head beats you up at certain things, but I don't beat myself up. If there's beating up going on, the I actually is asleep.
Yes.
And keeping that kind I awake allows all those other things to still have their impulse to jump into a fight or self-loathe, or it's still all there, but you're still the adult there going, thank you, but you don't have decision-making power. You're lovely, come and have a cuddle, but I'm actually the adult that's going to choose what I say and what email I send.
Right, yes, yeah. It reminds me of the practice that I do a lot, where I'll write out an email that's the angry kid in me or whatever, just to get it out, and then I'll be right, okay, I've heard you, put that to one side, and now I'm going to write the actual email.
The Tibetan Buddhists would love you for that. They call it feeding meat to the demons.
Ah, okay.
It's like they're going to get their food.
Yeah.
You better do it consensually and unharmfully.
Yes.
So that's why punk rockers, we both have friends who are punk rockers. Yeah. They're some of the mellowest, gentlest people in the world. Yeah. On stage they're like and vomit everywhere, but actually in their normal lives, they're the gentlest, cuddliest people. They're always taking around something for their mum. Do you want to come? I'm just going. They're like very, because they don't have that amount of suppression of all that. They've got a place where it can be healthily expressed. Screaming at the referee on a Saturday afternoon. Thank God that exists in this country. Where would we be without all that aggression being pointed towards that guy in black with a whistle? There are certain valves we need, which are shadowy, kind of like for the health, the non-harmful expression of all these parts of us, because they are in us.
Yes.
We can try living and going, no, I'm not like that, I'm a light warrior. But no, everyone has the full spectrum, that's the game here, and things, if the more you're in suppression and denial of the sort of yuckier, non-socially acceptable parts, the more you suppress them. Yeah. Like a beach ball, the more you push it down under the surface of the water, the more violently it wants to fly back up. Yeah. So that's why they say, beware the anger of the quiet man.
Right,
Eventually, so don't be suppressing all those things that eventually will crack and create a crisis, self-sabotaging your life. Like you're saying, feed meat to the demons, give all these things, gossiping at celebrities, all these things are very important if they're not made meaningful. If you're doing it in a silly way, or just being like really, shadow games with the children are great, like being just disgusting. That's why they love Roald Dahl so much.
Right, yeah.
Because they are great, they're very happy to play where the snot and the poo and the disgusting, they like sort of roughhouse and stuff.
Yes.
So when it's consensual and everyone's in on the gag, playing with kids is a great way to play with those characters.
Yes, yeah.
And they love it, Mr. Horrible. We had a character when the kids were really small, like Mr. Grumpy or Mr. Horrible or something. That was their greatest thrill, to try and call him up and make friends with him and fail every time. It was just, I hate children, stop calling me. It was a great thrill for them, this character that hated children.
Mr. Horrible? Yeah. Oh, fabulous.
And it's great for the parent, to go, I'm going to, whatever, your cooking's rubbish, stop making things. That character can say
Excellent. That sounds really cathartic on both sides.
So having a place for all that means that we don't have to be such an uptight, appropriate shop window in our lives, and we can share more of each other and have the intimacy and connection we want. And we have more permission for being silly, for being naughty, for being all these things. And that permission of us embodying that, just stretching ourselves into a sort of a wider field, more of us, allows everyone else, it just becomes a permission slip for everyone else's part of that to be safe to come forward.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm not saying we have to go, it's all or nothing, I'm saying share everything. You don't have to go all the way into the deep water, scuba, but we can snorkel a lot further from the mainland than we are. So I just want to find that sweet spot in between, which isn't trampling your boundaries and actually having a excruciating, not fun life, but a lot more between here and there that is just full of treasure, full of intimacy, full of laughter, full of laughing at yourself. That's something we've really often lost, particularly in public. The ability to do is to laugh at ourselves, because it felt so shameful when we were little. So we've kind of parked that, like, no laughing at me, I mustn't look stupid.
Right.
Being free to feel stupid.
Right.
We have a thing called the Academy of the Sacred Fool, which is bringing a lot of that into business and into people's teaching worlds, when they're bringing their stuff to people, to teach from the middle of the mess, like Pema Chodron does, and be the cautionary tale that you're teaching, rather than being from on high, this is how you do it, I'm very wise.
Right.
It's much more fun to not be very wise, or to use your own melodrama as the teaching when you're working with people, and your fallibility makes them feel, oh God, we can be like that too. It's like, again, this permission slip for us all to be more in our humanity.
Yeah. So have you experienced that kind of stretching of the bubble out recently into being more of who you authentically are?
Recently, I mean, I'm playing with it all the time, to the point at which I have a kind of like version of Tourette's that I have to manage. There are levels of freedom where actually it's not right to say certain, you have to actually tune the balance between allowing all that freedom and one's natural Tourette's alongside, sorry, no disrespect to anyone who really has Tourette's, but we've all got those urges, that we suppress, all the way through to being a sort of sensitive to other people. There's a balance to be struck. You know what I mean? There's a kind of a rookie new age idea that I'll just do what I want, and if you've got a problem, that's just your stuff to work through. That's a kind of a like mezzanine level spirituality. The truth is, of course, we're responsible for our own reactions. The time bombs that go off on us when you trigger me, that was mine. Of course, I'm responsible for it. But that has to be balanced with knowing that we're all got time bombs in our bellies and certain sensitivities and fragilities that we are caring with each other. Not just in these individual little ego lumps, just looking after number one. It comes with caring for the group and being sensitive. It's taken me a while to learn that, actually, because I just can't often resist saying the thing that I think is funny, that isn't funny for everybody. Right.
Have you had a recent example of that you're willing to share?
No, I think it was very recently, very much less. Very much less, because I'm very much more now interested. I'm as interested in that freedom. I'm as interested in ahimsa, the practice of harmlessness. Right. Certain things. Certain things just don't need to be said, just to get it off your own level. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
And not bothering to say things to people who aren't ready to hear it as well. You know what I mean? There's no point in trying to explain certain things to people who are entrenched in something.
Yes.
It's not my job as the teacher to make them go through it. Like, more of a let it be. I think it's important as a teacher to not get too involved on how deep they go or how far they've gone. It's not really our job. We provide the food. How much they want to eat is up to their soul. And getting busy in how deep did it go is really more of a narcissistic teacher who needs the feedback that it went really well.
Right.
If you're really being there for them, their soul will take it as deep as it needs to go. It's not really your business. Someone will leave at lunchtime, someone else have the most amazing experience of their life. It's not really up to us. And not getting too involved in that, but being super, super sensitive that, don't want to push people ever.
Yes, yeah. I think I probably come from the opposite end of that spectrum, working towards being more able to say the funny things, the things that put the finger right on the on the sore spot, and that my natural disposition is like, they don't need to hear that, or they're not ready to hear that, or whatever.
You just meet it on a case-by-case basis. If people have turned up to a Transforming Shadows workshop, then they're knowing that they're coming to a certain amount of playful triggering and mucking about and sort of poking and sort of rummaging around.
Yes.
That's a good place for it. It might not be the queue in Sainsbury's. Might not be the best place for it. You don't want to look in someone else's shopping. You look at someone else's trolley and you see it's just like all oily carbs. And there's just not one leaf in the whole thing. Yeah. There's something fun that wants to sort of just challenge them about their shopping right there and then, just for the fun of it. But it's not, that's not always compassionate.
Yeah. And that's a great example of how I come from the opposite end of the spectrum. Because I don't want people to look in my basket and make judgments about it.
Nor should they,
I kind of deliberately don't look at other people's basket, even when they're putting stuff on the thing.
Yeah. And also look in your own basket. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You can't be laughing at in all ways in life. You can't laugh at other people's baskets, and if you've still got that sort of 6-pack of Twix in your own.
Yeah, which I haven't, fortunately.
No, I haven't. It's got palm oil in it.
Oh yes, okay. There was a big.
Would
thing
it be
about
too
that.
hippie and vegan in the workshops? I mean, a lot of people workshops, they say, no smoking in the workshops. Please don't be on coke when you're in the workshop. They're things. Please don't. It'd be cool to say, because people bring food. Please don't bring any food that's got palm oil in it. Would that be too? Would
that be
far?
too hippie?
Because it's good for the orangutans.
Yeah. Well, it's not good for the orangutans if people do have.
It's good for orangutans to not bring it.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. It's a very specific one, isn't it? Whereas with other ones, like.
How far could we take this?
Yeah. Maybe asking for palm oil awareness.
Yeah.
Rather than a hard and fast rule, just to raise the profile of it.
I really want to push that as far as it can go without it being like a fucking ball ache.
Right. Yeah, I'd be like, oh God, I have no idea what's got palm oil in it.
Yeah.
Do I really have to get my glasses out
I just
and
was
read the
thinking of those
ingredients?
milk chocolate bars that I love so fucking much. I could exist on Star bars quite happily.
Right.
But I'm sure they've got all kinds of shit in it that's bad for the environment.
Have you had a look to see if there's palm oil in there?
I assume anything that's got covered in milk chocolate that's like Cadbury's or Nestle or any of that is definitely got that shit going on.
Right.
And if it hasn't got it in that product, the company that's making it's using it everywhere else. So that's my thought. The Cadbury's and Nestle's of this world to be avoided.
Yeah.
If you like orangutans. If you don't care about orangutans, fuck it, eat all the Star bars you like.
Right, but most people
I've got
do,
a Star
right?
bar in my bag that's been there for
so
weeks and weeks.
So you don't give a shit about orangutans?
No, I haven't eaten it. It's there, it's like my test. Can I still not eat it? It's been there for weeks now.
Wow. And you really like Star bars?
I love fucking Star bars.
What are they anyway?
They're just like chocolate where they've got kind of gooey stuff and nuts and a pasty thing in the middle. So it's a perfect orchestrated texture
like
and taste
marathon-like?
sensation. Smoother than a marathon.
Right.
Maybe we'll have it after this interview. We're gonna have
Well, I'm sugar and carb free, so I won't.
Okay. I'll leave it in the bag. It's my little
disgusting habit.
It's my little Star bar to see who's stronger, me or Cadbury, or whoever makes it. I'm not even sure who makes it.
Cool, okay. So we need a Star bar substitute that definitely hasn't got palm oil in
Yeah,
it.
don't start sending me any of your carob nonsense.
No, real chocolate only.
Yeah.
Cool, okay. So tell me, what got you into being a teacher in the first place? Because that's quite a leap from, hey, I've recognised this thing about where my shadows are, that's where my greatest gift to the world is, and taking that to the next level and offering out teachings. How did that happen?
How did that happen? I suppose because of my own personal journey to survive all these sensitivities and fragilities and panic attacks and lack of self-worth and self-love and all the sort of fucking mess that is my psychology, and just to be able to sort of cope with every day and earning money and being around the other humans, I explored quite a lot of different things that really inspired me. Very diverse, from really spiritually things to even religious some things, also to some sort of tribally cool practices that they've done in the past that really work. And also, when we're doing the One Giant Leap film, I was already kind of on that tip, but One Giant Leap, which were these movies we made going around 50 countries and interviewing all people about God, sex, death, money, pain, so much more. It was already what we were passionate about. We wanted to showcase some of these ideas, these diverse ideas and diverse musicians and practices, and just make this huge unity hit out of all the inspiring diversity of the world was kind of the idea. And so I gathered even more exciting things to share. It was always showcasing. One Giant Leap was always like making these movies and albums that showcase the most incredible singer in Africa, the most incredible drummers in India, the most incredible, Eckhart Tolle talking about the pain body, or Kurt Vonnegut talking about being a writer and what being an artist is, or just the coolest, most inspiring people I'd ever come across that I could gather, that we could gather.
Yeah.
And really that is another way of teaching. It's just gathering the best bits so that showcase them for everyone. Look, this should help with your efficiency on being peaceful and untriggered. And so it was kind of a very natural step after the One Giant Leap films and started a film with Gabrielle Roth, who I love, 5 Rhythms.
Right, yeah.
With Ramdas, who's my other favourite teacher of ever. Who started the self-help movement with Be Here Now in the late 60s. It was always been showcasing the best of what inspired me. That's part of my intimacy and connection we were talking about, is wanting to connect. And the way I want to connect is when I see something that makes me go, oh, wow, I want to go, hey, Cat, wow.
Yeah.
That is part of the great intimacy for me, is sharing what's really turning me on and making me feel alive.
Yes.
And that's what One Giant Leap is, musically, in singing, in playing, in drumming, in philosophy, in laughter. It's visuals, it's all that. And so the workshops and the book is really just an extension of showcasing more of those ideas that are efficient, that make me go, wow, and talking in front of groups. You know, some of the One Giant Leap director Q&A things went very much more than into what was it like shooting that scene with Michael Stipe. It was very much more like, what was it like when? Because a lot of the subjects, the chapters in One Giant Leap are quite deep. You know, they're quite like pain, shadow, desire. So when we start talking about that in a group of a big audience and a director's Q&A, people start talking about their own experiences, and it starts of itself going quite deep, because the film's opened everyone up into such a emotionally alive way.
Yeah.
So that's the long answer to say, you know, the workshops was kind of a natural step. And at the time that I started doing them, it went from, there was this crash that happened in 2009, 2010, when you just couldn't suddenly just walk into someone's office and go, give me £1 million to do another film, please. They actually checked their Excel sheet before they handed it over suddenly. That was what happened. And there used to be so much money for anything you wanted to, well, not for everybody, but you could go and get a budget for something if it was a good idea, and there were lots of places you could go. 2009, 2010, there was a crash, and there was a crash within the entertainment industry. So it was like, wow, if I'm going to still feed the mouths, I'm going to need to do maybe something that isn't always just music or just film.
Right.
And my girlfriend at the time said, well, why don't you do something, you know, just like book a place for a weekend and see who comes and just teach, you know, what would I teach? I don't know, what, you know. And so I thought of what I might do, maybe something to do with bringing your dream project into the world, because I've done lots of mad projects that kind of had barcodes and, you know. And so I did that workshop and just did a little tester weekend in Mallorca, in this village called Dea where I lived. The people up in the sort of monastery on the top of the hill said, use our space, just try out your stuff, see what happens. And once again my girlfriend, she goes, why don't you just do a little Facebook page? See, people might be in the area, they might be interested, they might come. So I thought, I'll put one up. This is a long time ago when Facebook was like, you know, like, oh, do a Facebook page. And then like 40 people flew in from different countries for this weekend. It's like, whoa. And then I thought, oh, maybe that's just the 40 people that would come. So I did it a few weeks later, another 40 people flew in, and I've just been doing it every weekend since for the last 7 years.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, so that's happened. And then this year I had a little heartbreak over Christmas. This, not heartbreak, but a little... When I realised I had how much of my film projects and my activist projects, like 15 Minutes of Friendship and all these different things, I'd kind of dropped at that moment. I was so busy like trying to survive and trying to make the next chapter set up, that I realised I totally let go of a lot of my fun, entrepreneurial, weird, creative, activist-y films and projects.
Okay.
So I kind of made a little pledge to myself this year to bring those back online.
I'm interested about 15 Minutes of Friendship. I've never heard of that.
Okay, 15 Minutes of Friendship is... 15 Minutes of Friendship, if anyone wants to join in and fund it or give me Google Translate or something, is this idea that I was asked to do a bit of music for somebody to stop the Sudan going into the genocide. It's so ridiculous. Like, yeah, my bit of music is going to be the thing that stops another genocide in North-South Sudan, but you make the music for Oxfam or whoever asked for it, and... but it got me thinking, no piece of music I'm going to do, or John Lennon's going to do, is going to, you know, be the thing that suddenly changes everything. But what would change everything? What would actually fucking change this shit that goes on everywhere? Whether it be Syria, the Congo, you know, like, what would change it? And I thought about it, I thought, okay, well, why do we allow it to happen? The reason we allow it to happen is because we still think of those funny brown people as them. Even you and I, who are right on one, we still have an us and them thing. We don't think of them like the way we think of the people in Totnes or in, you know, Paris. The proof of that is the little bomb goes off in Paris, or there's a shooter and a few people die, that everyone changes their Facebook status with the France flag and everything like that. That many people die every fucking day in Syria under American bombs, British bombs. But we think of them as them, so we tolerate it. We turn a blind eye. We still have the coltan in our phone batteries. You know, at the end of the day, we want the comfort of being able to post our bum on Facebook more than we want to help those people at the end of the day.
Or is it just a case that there are so many more bombings in countries where there's brown people that it's just overwhelmed, whereas one happens in Paris and it's like, that's different?
No.
No?
I think it's because we think of them as them. If we thought of them as us, there's no way we'd let that happen to their children in a million fucking years. So I was thinking to myself, all right, with me, who do I think of as us? Outside of my kids and my immediate, you know, people, who do I think of as us? What's the next level out? I thought, my kids' friends. Definitely, I think of my kids' friends as my kids, you know, many of them, and I care about them, you know, they're like, you know, our gang.
Yeah.
So I thought of this project called 15 Minutes of Friendship, saying we don't want your £5 a month. We just want 15 minutes of friendship in a video type pen pal relationship like Skype or Zoom or whatever. And you're paired up with your school or your classroom, or you as an individual, your kid is paired up with a kid in Syria or wherever they're, obviously it's got to be somewhere where the internet still runs.
Yeah.
But as far as you could go.
Yeah.
And every month, 15-minute chat that we facilitate, we give them tools. What are the rules in your house? Draw a picture of your dad. They're not just left to it. They're given tools to become friends and conversations. And then next time, if you've got a little kid in the Congo who's friends with your daughter, and you pop your head around the door and you see them laughing on the screen and holding up a funny picture they've done of each of their parents or whatever, next time you hear a bunch of people got killed in the Congo, you're going to have a very different relationship to that piece of information.
Yeah.
So 15 Minutes of Friendship is this idea of creating this world web of millions of children. Everyone has got a pen pal kid somewhere, far away that you wouldn't normally, And we create usness through all the children becoming friends.
That's amazing. That's brilliant. I love that.
I've still yet to sort of actually build it and do it. It's one of the 8 projects that I'm going to...
8? Okay, you better talk us through those.
No.
No?
No way.
Too much?
No way. There's another thing I'd like to do to harness the punk of all the teenage kids.
Right.
How the old, how the grown-ups have totally sold them out.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be 2 generations ago that the pride of life was based around leaving something better for your children.
Yes.
That was what made you proud. But you're like, that's long fucking gone. The last 2 generations were just like, sell anything out so that we can have a lovely time, and chalets and more wealth and more death fear and just consuming till we die. They call it skiing, spending the kids' inheritance. Environmentally, they've just fucked the whole place up just to have quick money. It just became worship of quick money since the Second World War. Even before it slightly, but when they carved up the world after the Second World War, it was the people who were about quick money that were in charge suddenly. And it's all been about the worship of quick money since then, and just the total destruction and mayhem and extinct species, and you don't need to list it, the state of the planet. Well, I think that there's the kids, the teenagers particularly, are going to have to kind of fucking take over. They should be suing the adults. They should be like, you're fucking fired, mate. And I want to give them lots. Civil disobedience is one of the things that's going to save us. It's the obedience to that incrementally reached system that is fucking us up. We need resistance. You don't have to smash up your local, Morrison's, but you need to do something. And I want to harness the punky fuck you of the kids who have genuinely been ripped off. There's something right to direct their fuck you at, and give them a lot of civil disobedience. It's a thing called I'm Not Sorry.tv. It's like a why don't you? Do you remember that program when we were little?
Do, yeah.
Why don't you turn off your TV and do something else instead? It gives you lots of shit to do.
Yeah.
So it's like that, but for teen activism.
Right.
And you give them lots of stickers that say causes cancer. They can go down the local meat shops and just slap it on all the non-organic meat. And just mad sort of civil disobedience things, block the Esso station, block any petrol stations that are using more than 60% Saudi oil in solidarity for the women who are being executed and everything like that. Let's do some of that shit. It's not, we can put your dad's golf trophy in the system, because golf courses use up all the fucking water. To put it in the system so that when you flush it, it uses no. When you're wondering where his golf tournament trophy's gone, you tell him why it's there in the system.
Right.
So it's I'm not sorry, and this is why.
Yes.
And I'd like to do and every week on the show, they bust a company. This is the terrible company of the week. This is what they're fucking doing. Don't buy anything from Nestle or whatever, and a positive every week. Look what this country, the inspiring stuff.
Great.
So it's like a great educational, inspiring, activisty sell for mainly teenagers.
Brilliant. I like that it's got both the negative and the positive.
Oh, massively, yeah.
Yeah, that's really important.
I really believe in building the new, making the old obsolete. They don't need to come down in flames. We don't need to all be right together and go, ha ha. We're not just going to descend to that. It's great that you notice that there's no Tower Records or HMV anymore on Oxford Street. They don't have that real estate anymore. They couldn't begin to afford it because but there was no big thing where it all came down in flames. They just, that way of ripping off all the artists, and it became obsolete.
Right,
and,
okay.
I'm happy for the destructive powers that be to become obsolete. I don't need a parade where they're all shamed or anything like that. Just build the new way.
Yeah, just making space for all that new stuff to bubble up through.
And I do agree also that some people that I know what you're thinking, power has never been given up willingly, that we do have to take the power back. Yes, they're not going to just say, oh yeah, fine, but it can still be done in a way where building the new draws everybody's assets and everybody's interest and everybody's consumerism towards the good stuff, and it just makes them, another thing I'd love to do and I'm not the first person to suggest this, but if it was properly coordinated with Stephen Fry and everybody, there should be, you know, it would only take 1 year of everybody paying 50% of their taxes, saying, I'm going to pay the half that keeps the hospitals and the schools going, but I'm not paying the half that bails out the bankers and funds the gun running.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there is a way. Anita Roddick was a great inspiring woman to me,
Mm-hmm.
who started the Body Shop.
Yes.
And they tried to take her down all the time. They tried to come up with rules for her, the male patriarchal business, when she was making money, saying, you can't do good in the world and make money. They just decided that was a rule. And they tried to take her down, and she screwed them royally, and proved to them over and over again what bollocks they were talking. And she like made it so that certain indigenous people got patents over the combinations of plants and herbs and stuff that they used. And you know, she was very active in protecting people's rights in places where no one gives a fuck about your rights. And she was very much a believer in the vigilante consumer. Where you spend your money is the thing that makes the difference. If they don't have everybody's little bit of money all added up for their pile, they are screwed.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a fun app you can get, and I haven't actually used it recently, but I've got it on my phone, where you can point it, you know, like it takes a little picture.
Yeah.
You point at any product in the supermarket shelf, and it tells you what company it is, what's dodgy about them, what isn't, what might be in the, you know, they're currently giving money to lobby that you're not allowed to say their ingredients on the jar, like Heinz, I think. I don't want to sort of be sued here, but if I remember rightly, allegedly, I'm pretty sure Heinz gave quite a lot of money to lobbyists that try and say that you don't have to put your ingredients on the jar.
Crazy.
You know, or you don't have to say certain things. You know, there's a lot of companies big that don't want rules that say the truth on the jar in lots of ways. Yeah. And this app will tell you, oh, this company just put money into lobbying against this. And, you know, I'm not fucking buying your beans.
Yeah. Do you know what the app's called?
What's it? Something like... Maybe we can flash it up on the screen later.
Yeah. We'll put it in the notes underneath.
Yeah.
Nice one. So yeah, I'm hearing a lot of activism, a lot of vigilante,
only if
positivity,
it's
efficient.
Inner activism as well. Like we were talking about this with Ruby May recently.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not on a twin trail with your activism, don't bother.
That sounds very Jordan Peterson-esque. That you've got to sort out your shit on the inside.
You should have worn the suit. Yeah, you do. I mean, you have
before
to go,
you can.
Or at the same time, not before.
Well. Yes, maybe not before, but definitely
simultaneously,
rather than thinking you can sort the outside without sorting out the inside.
Big time.
Yeah.
Whatever your cause you've chosen is not by accident.
Mm-hmm.
There's a wound, there's a thing that's unique to you that represents, that you want to fight against, that you want to heal, that you want to support and advocate for. It's you're advocating for on some level as well. And if you know what that is, then you can really be efficient over there because you're constantly cleaning this house.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why things like the Occupy movement probably didn't do anything, because no one, while they were on Wall Street going about corruption, was getting up every morning doing 30 minutes about their own corruption.
Right. That mirroring the idea that the corruption is inside as well.
Everyone has it. Everybody has it.
Yeah.
Your relationship with it is either denial or working with it.
Mm-hmm. So how would you recommend working with corruption?
Ask yourself, in what areas am I not being fully honest and visible? Mm-hmm. Even if it's for good reason. Mm-hmm. You know, just what are they? You know, how am I not fully honest with my partner, my children, my colleagues, the taxman? No, we're being honest with the taxman. We're not giving you the money for the gun runners. That's what but yeah, just like ask those questions. In what ways are the people I'm fighting against? Am I just like that, but in a different way?
Right. Yeah. Nice one. Sounds very fruitful.
That's just one way, but and just what is the wounded? What am I? What is the version in me of this? Not just the thing that I'm being corrupt. You know, the thing that hurts.
Yes.
You know, like a lot of people working in eco things also have an over fear of death.
Right.
A lot of people are playing out their own terror of death through what's happening to the planet. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't fight what's happening to the planet, but some of it will be fought efficiently because you really love the planet and you're sensible.
Yeah.
And some of it will be because you're so frustrated and terrified that just there is death at all, and that it ends. And that's a big thing on this planet, the death denial. You know, talking about death is morbid. It's like so weird that we are all in the queue for this really to stop and not start again. You know, the Katness and the Jaminess, it ends. You know, it's finite, and at the end of it, it's often very painful. Different diseases, or you're just losing power, can't get out of it. You know, it's not a fun ending. Old age, and so of course we just compartmentalise it, just don't talk about it, and just have a cult of youth on TV where we only show young people, and once people get above a certain age, they just don't be on TV anymore. We've sanitised any sort of, everything is about the cult of youth and airbrushing away our death. Hence, within a sort, and also because we send our old people to die far away from the home now, which is a quite recent thing. They used to die in the home. Grandma wasn't very well, then you would only get to go and say goodnight to her at the end, and the room actually had the curtains drawn, and then eventually she died, and you might see the body leaving. Like, it was part of life. Now it happens in some sanitised environment far away. Again, we push death further away and become more terrified of it, more into consuming, more into all those kinds of things which are to push death away. And because of that, just in general, people have a much bigger fear of death and much less relationship to it than they used to. Not so much in India, where they carry the body through the streets and it goes to the burning ghats, but particularly in the groomed Western cultures. And if you haven't, on some level, begun to make your peace with that, you might find it leaks into you being inefficient in being an eco-warrior.
That makes sense, yeah. I wonder how that's panning out for people who are eco-warriors and working with that aspect of themselves. I
would love to meet some.
Yeah.
And we're going to run some activist workshops. Ruby May, hopefully we're going to do inner activism this year. We're going to do the twin trail of activism and how to make sure that your inner curriculum and your outer work in the world are symbiotically serving each other.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's so needed. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
What about... I'm curious as to how, because it sounds like you've done so much personal work, and
it does sound like it. I'm good at sounding like that.
I'm curious as to how much it's impacting on your own inner sense of strength and capability in the world. Do you feel like you hold Jamie as an adult
very much
a lot better than you used to?
Oh, so much more. If I have a wave of despair and horror just driving along like you do, not every trigger is something that directly happens. Sometimes you just wake up with a pressure on your chest and something's wrong. Sometimes you just, there are moods and clouds, and just being a person. It's not always because of something.
Yeah.
And we all have the philosophy, because we're so comfort addicted. We don't like feeling edgy feelings. It's counterintuitive to be curious about something that's uncomfortable. We've all grown up in a culture that says, get a headache, take a pill. And that is deeply, deeply ingrained, that we think that when something hurts or something doesn't feel nice, something's wrong. We make that, and that's total bollocks. Actually, your body is doing so many genius things, flushing out, recalibrating, all the anger you've gulped down, all the tears you've choked back, all the injustices you haven't expressed, they're all in there like a pain body, like Eckhart Tolle says. Your genius body's trying to flush them out. There are a lot of feelings which are tough, where something's leaving, your body's doing something brilliant. Yet we think if it hurts or it feels edgy, something's wrong. So we constantly try and go to someone to put a cork in it. I've become somebody who is willing to feel my uncomfortable feelings, some of them at least. I don't auto try and shut it down when it's not nice. I auto go curious, do the opposite, and that's what I try and teach in the workshops. We become curious, become a wine taster of the uncomfortable feelings, go into the body where it is, go, oh, solar plexus, what's going on? And it actually starts moving and dissolving, and the body's genius on an energy level, on a blocked kind of emotional level, starts moving it out. And it can feel tender, but if you're okay with that, then you can play a part in this incredible plumbing system that's going on. If you don't, and you're always like, no, and a funny feeling, no, Facebook, I'm going to the fridge, I'm going to complain about that person, I'm going to set a new boundary, if you're always pushing away anything that's the slightest bit edgy, it just about builds up and up and up, and you have to have like a nervous breakdown in your 40s, or a bankruptcy, or a divorce, or an illness, to wake up to yourself and stop, because every time we feel a feeling that doesn't feel nice, we go, no, I want something else instead. We're kind of abandoning ourselves. We're saying, Jamie, your feelings are not okay to feel. And what I want to be is someone that goes, hey, Jamie, there's a Jamie in there who's like feeling very fragile or sensitive or depressed or scared, or not even about the bank balance. It might be just a feeling driving along. Be with it and go hello to it is a massive change in my life. And holding Jamie in it is like, whatever you're feeling, I'm not leaving you.
Right.
Like you would to a little kid. It's like, all right, yeah, oh, you're lovely, you are. And treating yourself with this constant sort of patience, and not thinking, oh, you should be past this stuff by now. There's no past this stuff. Some days you're past everything and you're fucking flying along like the Silver Surfer. Other days you think, the thing that you thought you'd done all your work on will come and bite you on the bum. That's what being a human is. So to act as if it shouldn't be like that, and that you should have in a linear way reached a certain level by now, is bollocks. the path or whatever of freedom and self-development is nothing to do with the line that gets you somewhere. Everyone's a bit hooked on this, I'm going to get enlightened this lifetime. No, you're fucking not. Just, like, please, you're not. You're not. If you could just go 3 weeks without complaining, let's start with that.
Right.
I held Jamie in much more patience in my light and dark, and my dark appetites and my failures, and find it constantly, try and be like the laughing policeman. That's our practice, is that you are busting yourself but you're laughing while you're doing it. You're not expecting it should be any different, and you're just like, "Oi," like, it's funny, it's a comedy. And you can look at it through the eyes of the comedy of being punked by the angels, or you can look at it as the horror channel and look at all these things that are, it doesn't matter what eyes you look through. There's like different TV channels. You can experience the same data as the comedy channel or the horror channel or the drama channel. Everyone loves that one. The victim channel, the I'm powerless channel. They're all options.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you've had a more educated, more wealthy upbringing, you might have more options. That's just nothing we can do about that.
Right.
You might have come across more things, read more books, met more people that made you go, oh man, there's another option. Not everybody's been shown all the options. I want to show everyone the options. That's why the workshops are 100% inclusive, even if you haven't got any money. There's a ticket. But if you haven't got the money or less money, no one's excluded, because I want this stuff to be for everybody, even if you're skint.
That's a pretty phenomenal offering. There's not many people that do that, is there?
I don't know. I don't go to other people's things.
Yeah, of course not. Too busy doing your own. But yeah, I just want to honour you for that inclusivity and your determination that everyone will reap the benefits of what you want to teach.
Okay, well, let me tell you how it's completely selfish.
Okay, go
before
on.
we get carried away. Okay, so like you're doing a new business.
Yeah.
Okay, like workshops, whatever. Letting everybody in, right? One. All those 20 quids and 10 quids and 5 quids and 50 quids, which aren't the 200 quid for the workshop or the 100 quid, add up to another lump of money that we need, thank you very much, to keep the show on the road.
Sure.
So that's totally selfish. Secondly, more and more people come and you get a much more diverse spread of very different kinds of people and a bigger energy in the room and more cross-pollination of everything. It's a fucking much better for the workshop, for everybody. Another selfish idea. 3, it's so amazing, you get 40 ambassadors going around saying, wow, I just had the best weekend ever, instead of 4. Right, so that's totally selfish. And the next one is, you get cool people like you thinking, that Jamie, he's got so much goodwill. I want to honour him for, so it's great, that everyone thinks you're wonderful. So there's no reason not to do it at all. I don't know why everyone says, oh, Jamie, I don't get it. It's like, I do it totally selfishly, as well as generously.
I love that the two can go together as well, the generosity and the, I don't know if it's selfishness or just benefiting from it.
Anthony de Mello talks about, like, he goes, everything is selfish. Even giving money for the charity makes you feel better, that the world is more, you can Nietzsche everything down to the will to power. But like Anthony de Mello says, and I love him for saying it, he goes, let's just say we've got great taste in our selfishness.
Right,
if we're generous.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've long thought there's nothing wrong in being selfish, because it's just looking after the self, and that's important.
Depends what you mean by self. If you include in the us, everybody, selfish is good.
Yeah, because there's the individualisation and then there's the we are one.
And if you can imagine that you're actually a good person, and I know again for your listeners and for everybody listening, the idea that they could even see themselves as a good person is quite a stretch. But if you could see yourself as a good person, just imagine that your motivations and your actions are actually based in you being quite cool. If you could just hold that for a minute, then it would be brilliant for you to have an extra 5 million in your bank.
Yes. Yeah.
And actually your attraction to something, and I want to do that, or I want to affect this way, you trust it because you're a good person. If you're starting from the point of, I want good things to happen on this planet and healing and connection, you begin to trust your impulses. You trust your attraction, because I'm attracted to that. You actually begin to believe that me having what I want is good for everybody.
Yes.
And you don't have to be a megalomaniacal weirdo to do that. You become a benevolent dictator. But you realise that you, because you're cool, the things you want and the things you go for are good for everybody.
Yes.
And just trusting your own compass of your own attraction, like Bashar the alien says, who everyone should check out, bashar.org, you trust your compass as your attraction.
Yes.
What turns you on actually is, I'm going to use that as my compass.
Yes, yeah.
And, some people used to call it follow your bliss or whatever. You don't have to get too dolphiny. But I've begun to really trust that what I want is good.
Right, yeah.
And therefore put more energy behind it, rather than be half of me going, I want to do it, and the other half being going, but how could you? Who are you to say that? Then you've got yourself pulling in two different directions. You don't really succeed in life.
Yeah.
You say, I'm going all fucking in. I'm going to trust I'm cool. I'm fucking going for it.
I had 6 months ago-ish, when I spoke to you about, oh my God, what am I going to do next? I had that flipping on its head, 180 degrees, that who am I to do this, to who am I not to? Who am I to deprive the world of what I'm really passionate about and what I want to...
And if the soul plane doesn't like it, no one will fucking come, so it doesn't matter. That's the great thing about making stupid decisions, a little bit of a tangent here, but self-development, about relationship. A lot of people ask me about, you know, they go back to the same relationship, they keep going, no, but I don't think I'm done with him yet, I need to go... Fine, you know, the great thing is there's no way you can make a bad relationship decision. Because if you stay when you should be going, your soul will show you even louder.
Right,
so you're safe. Your soul has got your back. Your life's genius, which is beyond your thinking mind and your pros and cons, beyond all that, there's a genius going on of trillions of calculations of going on in your unconscious that have your back, that want you to survive, that want you to thrive. So you can trust, first of all, your impulses. But even if you can't, you think, oh, I'm not sure, maybe I'll go back to my... Don't worry, you can't make a wrong decision, because if you have making it's not right for you, it will be fucking clear before very long.
That compass is working all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's the same for any decision in life rather than just relationship decisions.
Yeah. If it's wrong, it will show itself to be wrong.
Yeah. Amazing. Super cool. How does that feel for a
first stab?
For a first stab.
That feels good. I think we've got there.
Yeah. Anything you want to tell the people before we sign off?
If you want more of me, come to jamiecatto.com and come and play for a day. All one-day workshops this year, not 2-day workshops. Read Insanely Gifted. If you can't get to a workshop, I wrote a book called Insanely Gifted. Got a new film just finished with Ram Dass, my favourite teacher, called Becoming Nobody. And that's going to be coming around this year at some point. And just come and play and... become a walking permission slip of dare to be a little bit more, dare to let people see your eccentricities just one bit more, because people fall in love with your eccentricities more than your appropriate side. We think we've got to keep it all appropriate, but people fall in love with the bit that isn't vanilla. They like your quirky, let your quirkiness be a tiny bit more on show and see what happens.
Nice. Great way to finish. Thank you, Jamie. Cool.
Great.
So, thank you for watching, listening to Cat Conversations again. If you like what we're doing here, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and maybe even send me some money via Patreon. It's not going to be Patreon forever, by the way, but for now it's Patreon until we figure out a better way to do it, bearing in mind their inability to really promote free speech with the Sargon of Akkad debacle. More on that another time. But yeah, thank you for coming along. Really appreciate your support and encouragement, and we'll see you next time. Bye.